We could talk about the thing with Trump. I have a little bit of a story that went down today at the gym.
Is the thing with Trump the part where he exists at all? Is that the thing with Trump? Or is there a broader thing with Trump? Is the thing with Trump the fact that there's this man who we're paying attention to right now? And there are
49%.
Hank,
according to CNN.
I watched a Vlogbrothers video, and I'm not sure if it was you or your brother, so my apologies. But the takeaway from it was, look, even if your guy doesn't win this, have some comfort in the idea that the other half of the nation isn't completely idiotic. That the was that you or your? Was that,
I don't know. I get confused too between us. I'm not entirely sure which one's which anymore. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing about democracy. You have to kind of agree that America works. And that the whole idea of voting, it's certainly not half of the country, but at least the half that voted, disagreed with you. And just chill out and deal with it. That's not how I felt when I was a young man and George W. Bush got elected and I was very super commie liberal guy. And I was very angry. But, you know, I'm kind of shockingly moderate now. Look, like I think that if old me saw current me, he'd be real disappointed. But yeah, you got to go ahead and say, all right, we're going to do the America thing. And people disagree with me, and let's just do this for 4 years, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think what a lot of people are saying is that they don't like the way that America's going right now. They see that they keep electing these officials, and they don't feel like these elected officials who are supposed to literally be their representatives, literally, are not their representatives. You know, they're representing big corporations, they're representing special interests, or they're just representing themselves so that they can continually stay in this position of power with all of the frills and things that come along with it. So a lot of people are saying this Trump guy is just kind of telling the truth, and I think the fact that he self-finances his campaign thus far, we'll see if he does in the primary, because that literally cost $1 billion to run a primary campaign in this country.
Well, he's got it.
This is the primary,
he's got it,
right?
Yeah, run general. That's what we know what he means.
The general election, yeah, thank you. But I think what it comes down to is a lot of people are really latching onto that and saying, I don't know who pulls Ted Cruz's strings. I don't know who pulls Marco Rubio's strings, but I know for sure who pulls Donald Trump's strings. It's Donald fucking Trump, and maybe the bastard you know is better than the son of a bitch you don't.
You know who I'd trust more than Donald Trump is like literally every corporation in America all pulling strings simultaneously. Like if we have all of them pulling a little string, I don't want one person on the string. That's the worst.
Did you see Trump's speech today?
Trump is like Ultron from the Marvel universe. He has no strings.
So the question is, did you see Trump's speech today? Who here saw it? Just me?
I saw both speeches.
Okay, all right. So in there, he's talking about free trade. And Trump says, you know what? Carrier just shipped 1,400 jobs to Mexico. He's talking about the importance of the wall and how they're going to build it and stuff. And he's like, this is easy to fix. This is easy.
I like that you tie those two things together. Like, we're going to build a wall so Carrier can't ship jobs to Mexico.
Yeah, he wants to really control the in and out.
The physical idea of jobs cannot pass through the wall Donald Trump can build.
Air conditioners cannot pass without regulation. I think that's his core of it.
You don't need a physical wall for that.
He's like, Carrier makes plans. Let me go for a second here.
All right. Well, you told me to interrupt. That was part of the deal. You said that right before we started.
I'm sorry.
We can't hear you at all.
He meant interrupt me or Taylor.
I'm such a dick. All right. I did, and I don't take it back either. I'm just like, but I'm trying to get my thought out. So Carrier shipped jobs to Mexico, and he's like, look, this is easy to fix. We just put a 35% tax on air conditioners coming from Mexico, and that will solve this problem. They'll just change their mind, a tariff, and they'll keep the jobs here in the U.S. And that's protectionism, right?
Yeah. Oh man, wow.
It sounds great at first.
It doesn't sound great to me at all. But I am politically weird.
Okay. Yeah. So like as I heard it, like my knee-jerk reaction, and I've got, I went to school. I have a business degree, whatever, as one of my degrees, and it was like,
just drop the fact that you don't have just one degree. Make sure we know.
Yeah. We're gonna cover that several times, I hope. But so because most of the people here think of my computer degrees, not my business one. But anyway, Taylor, can you turn your gain up higher?
You were so quiet.
And can I say, you really need to put those degrees in glass behind you so that you can just point backwards.
They're in
and
the Game
refer
of
to them.
Thrones room, but maybe we could get copies and
So
put
if an
them in all the
engineering
rooms.
or a computer question or a business question comes up, you can be like, all right, so just first things first, let me just, these good people here.
So the upside of protectionism is in the short term, it saves your job, right? Your job doesn't get shipped out. Carrier is going to be like 35% tariff. Shucks, that'll be anti-competitive. In addition to all the other challenges that come with having like remote manufacturing locations, we just won't do it. But in the long term, your country or your protected industries they fall behind. Like the Soviet Union had a real protectionist economy. And then when they finally knocked down the wall, you're like, holy shit, these cars look like they're from the 50s, right? And these tractors and the way that you do farming and the way that you do manufacturing, everything they built was just like sort of big hunks of iron. And
yeah, I mean, the story of human progress is the story of trade. That is how all of the great things that have happened got done. It's the transfer of ideas and the transfer of skills. And, you know, and like that's a big philosophical thing, and that's sort of how, like, that's how I come at things sometimes, and that's of course like means shit all to the people losing their jobs. Like what, like that fucking, like who the fuck cares at that point?
Maybe we need some level of protection, and here's why Trump was winning me over today. Oh my God, embarrassing to say.
Wow,
yeah, right. I'm becoming more high energy than I was previously because look, the things that like some of the things that America makes, our high tech stuff, they just insta steal, copy, and replicate. If we make something like we would do, America dominates the entertainment industry globally, right? You know, all those animated cartoons and stuff, Frozen and Shrek and whatever, that happens here. There aren't a lot of Chinese equivalents to that. And they just take that for free and dub it or whatever. Like they steal so much of what we make. But then on the way back, whatever China makes, rubber sharks and fucking Legos or whatever, you know, like we don't just copy that. Like we're honoring their intellectual property, and then of course a lot of it's physical goods.
Well, I mean,
they're stealing from us.
It's not intellectual property. It's physical goods, and you can't, like, this is the things that China is shipping to us is basically human labor. And what China is saying is, look, the people who live here have a lower quality of life. They have a lower expectation for what their lives are going to be like, so they are willing to work for less. Same, and like America has an extremely high quality of life. People talk about how like America's like going in the wrong direction, but it's pretty freaking wonderful here. We have a lot going for us. We have a great social safety net. We have the amazing healthcare system. Like there are categories, you know, there's always a category in which somebody's better than us, but like Americans have it pretty good. Especially compared to the places where we are sending jobs. The reason we're sending jobs to those places because there's people there willing to work for less money. Now, a little bit of me is, you know, I'm not such a strong American here that I'm kind of a little bit like, well, if we're making a job somewhere, if we're making somebody's life better somewhere, that's also good. You know, people in China need jobs too.
They're not real people. They're not real people. Not real people.
Shake heads. A lot of shaking heads here.
Yeah, no.
But just the fact that what if like to have a conversation where we get shake heads. I feel like so frequently the reason why we're getting so excited about like Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump is because we never have conversations between people who disagree with each other anymore. We have conversations on the internet where we talk about how evil the other side is, how they don't understand, and we only get information from our filter bubble that says, hey, you are right, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're right. And then when we see people from the other side, it's always the most extreme bullshit that like they found some asshole somewhere who said something super fucking dumb, like maybe what I just said about people in China needing jobs too. And and we never get this conversation going between people who disagree with each other. So you end up with a bunch of people who like literally cannot fathom a human being who disagrees with them. And so the only way to think about a Trump supporter, for me, is to think about like somebody who is clearly like a bad person. And I feel like we get the complete. Like literally, like
Look,
if there are legitimate Trump supporters in this room, it's the first time in my life I've met one. That's not, and I'm not fucking with you. Like I have super conservative in-laws, and I hang out with them, but they fucking hate Donald Trump. They're like, he insulted the Pope. You can't insult the Pope. Like
That's wait. That's the reason that
yeah.
they don't.
No,
like
I don't
Donald Trump,
know.
Is that he said something
I can't explain. Yeah.
less
Did you
than
hear what
polite
he
about
said about the Pope? He called him a loser. Can't get behind that kind of
made
candidate.
fun of his hat. You know, it was real sad.
Said he was a real lightweight.
I tell you,
low energy popes.
compared to the
Or
other
Pope.
people on the Republican side, I find Trump to be actually less offensive than a lot
There's
of them.
something really interesting about that. The fact that Donald Trump is like, Planned Parenthood does good work. I'm not going to fund them, but that was like, what the fuck just happened?
Yes.
That has never happened in the history of the Republican. And I think that says a lot about sort of like a lot of what we're running into is that the Republican Party is kind of fucked right now. Like they have gotten themselves into a really weird position.
You can do that. So I think, the three of us on the show are a lot more pro-gun than most people are. And classic Trump, which is my favorite term, I heard it from Chiz tonight, as opposed to Trump Zero. Classic Trump was against assault weapons, right? He was like, I think the Second Amendment is important, but assault weapons, they got to go. Now, Trump Zero, the current one, he...
It's high energy. He loves assault.
Yeah, he's all about guns. He's like, don't touch him.
Well, the
Well, if you
nice
call
thing
him
about
new Trump instead of Trump Zero, then it's only a matter of time till he comes back. Classic Trump.
Ah,
you know?
okay.